Well, hello, mis cielitos, and welcome back. Coco is here, and I am going to be starting a new game. Let me just finish finagling with some things to make sure audio's coming through. Looks like it's not. Even though it was a moment before I switched. There we go. So this is a visual novel that has been on my radar for an incredibly long time, as in back around the time that I was doing Fata Morgana with Konetsu, the very first Fata Morgana. And after we had finished this was something that had popped up. There was a video regarding this visual novel that had popped up on my recommended feeds. And I didn't finish the video. It didn't really talk, at least I didn't get to any part in which it talked a lot about the story. It was mostly just going into research that had been done regarding the game, and I think it was folklore and some medieval history. And I had been drawn at first since I saw this woman here on the right who just looked familiar to Michelle. The art style was a little similar as well. But I've just kind of had vague impressions of it. Don't know a whole lot going in, but yeah, it's been a long time coming that I've been wanting to to play this. Hello, Zerayo. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. She rage on my loop till I shall be forever waiting for the joke to finish. I checked in the options. It seems there's voice acting, but it's in Japanese. So I have taken that off because if I were to wait for the Japanese audio to finish and then read myself, that would just make it take a long time. So unfortunately, we'll have to stick with my voice acting and see how long my voice holds out. Bow. I bid you welcome to the world of this visual novel, Raging Loop. I am nobody special, honestly. Simply consider me part of the interface. You may refer to me as Rikako. You are most likely playing this game for the first time, and I am here to explain a few things about it. This work is quite strange, you see. It's recommended that the uninitiated take the time to read everything here. Those uploading their gameplay should at least read the For Videos and Sharing section. Ooh. Okay. If you read until the end, you'll find a sexy CG of me. Doesn't exist. We truly do live in a society. A harsh society. How sad. Now, where should I begin? About this game, Raging Loop is a visual novel. Much like with regular novels, the story is told through text, and the enjoyment comes from reading it. It was originally a mobile game, really? Huh, that's... I had not expected that. Were there any additions made when they ported it? If you're familiar with the party game Werewolf and Mafia, this visual novel bears a close resemblance to those, but keep in mind, it is just that, a resemblance. Sincerest apologies to those who are hoping to play an eternal game of Werewolf with 20 super AI Rikakos. I weep and bleed for you, truly. How sad. Of course, this is not merely a novel. As you carry on, you will sometimes come upon choices which affect the story. It's quite amazing. The characters have lively visual depictions, as well as voices, making it easy to immerse yourself in this world. To enjoy the voices to the fullest extent, or to simply avoid bothering your neighbors with the sound of anguished screams, please consider using headphones. This story is obscenely lengthy as well, so please take care not to be drawn in so thoroughly that you begin losing sleep. Also, you may be aware of this already, but Raging Loop is based entirely around fabricated murders and horrific scenarios. It's tailor-made for all you fans of suspense, thrillers, horror, and mystery. Of course, this is a work of fiction, so it has nothing to do with real people, groups, and incidents. It also includes fictional details about academic matters, such as history, religion, mythology, science, and medicine. Relying upon it during exams would get you 0 points. How sad. Lastly, we do not endorse replicating the crimes and cruelty depicted in this work. There's nothing to worry about as long as you differentiate between reality and fiction, something a lot of people seem to have trouble doing. This is, after all, fiction. I'm sure you are intelligent enough not to conflate things that happen in the game world with things that happen in real life, so enjoy Raging Loop to your heart's content. About special functions. Allow me to tell you about Raging Loop's special functions. Raging Loop's story branches out in ways so complicated it might be hard to follow. But there's no need to worry, for we have included a handy function called the scenario chart. You can access it at any time by simply opening the menu, giving you an overview of the scenario. And that's not all. Using the chart allows you to move to any chapter you've already been to, anytime, anywhere. Now there's no need to save at every choice you come across. You can simply go back and choose again, so there's nothing to worry about. The scenario chart function will be explained again when you have to use it, so don't worry if you don't quite understand it. Next up, keys. All branching in the story happens immediately when you make a choice. None of them start taking effect further down the line. However, some of the choices can only be unlocked when you have specific bits of information called keys. Many might say that searching for these keys is one of the major goals in this game. Don't worry if you don't understand how to search for them. It will be explained when you have one. Additionally, keep in mind that all routes unlocked by acquisition of a key will be open even if you haven't saved after the fact. This also means that you can't load back to a state when you didn't have the key. This doesn't make any scene inaccessible, so it's not much of a problem, but it's something to keep in mind. For those commendable individuals who would like to play without any keys again, please refer to the data reset option. Use it wisely. About standard functions. In addition to the special functions, Raging Loop also has the basic functions you'd expect any visual novel to have. You can hide the text window, see the backlog, load, save, skip red text, skip to the next choice, and so on. Saving and loading work as they do normally. There's an autosave function as well, but it only saves each time you enter a new chapter, so don't rely on it too much. Please save manually whenever it feels appropriate, whether you've read to a part that calls for it or you're about to use the scenario chart. Next are the options. The options allow you to change the volume, text display, speed, as well as a few other things. However, explaining it all would make you all very sleepy, so please either read the other instructions or listen to a certain someone's extra explanations. I'm counting on you, certain someone. About videos sharing. Raging Loop is a visual novel, meaning the story, events, and conclusions are very important. Because of this, it would be very troubling if someone uploaded everything to the internet. I'd be sad. Very sad. Then again, we do understand those who want to enjoy the work with many other people. Because of this, we have a guideline for how far we would like you to upload. This range covers the whole first main route and a little extra. Specifically, you can only upload until the choice at 4, Infiltration, you entering the village. That's a lot, just so you know. I'm sure you'll have enough content for your uploads. I actually think it's a bit too much. Uploaders who read everything aloud might get a sore throat. Please don't overdo yourselves, alright? Or a stuffy nose, which is what tends to happen to me. Also, if you intend to upload, please use the reminder function. If you have it set on, when you reach the time to stop making a video, a strange sheep hops into the screen and says, "End of the line." We would be grateful if you stop recording when you see him and try theorizing and arguing instead. This function is currently set to off. Alright, I'll have to check that out. Yes. Very well, I've set it to on. If you wish to change it, please go to 0, Introduction, and come here again. I'm good. Time to begin. Phew, that sure took a while. Thank you kindly for reading this far. Anyway, let's begin the story. Beyond the pockets of mist and hazes of blood, at the end of the ever-repeating despair and grief, please come and witness the truth of the werewolf village with your own 2 eyes. (5:11) Sunday. I closed in on the side of the road and killed the engine. It was steeper than I'd thought. My bike was on the verge of giving out, so I pushed down and deployed the kickstand. Welp, I'm lost. Maybe taking a ride down an unknown road with no sat-nav on me wasn't such a great idea. I just followed the road, so I figured I wouldn't get lost. Now I was in some deep shit. No, cool it. This wasn't a big deal. I sighed, took note of the fact that I'd gotten lost in my pocket journal, and then pulled out a map. Suddenly, a rush of memories flitted into my mind. Forget it. I somehow kept myself from remembering those things. After all, I'd gone on this trip to forget. Ugh. Enough of that. I gotta focus on what's happening right now. Life is simple, just like this road. It's dark and there aren't any guides, but that means all you gotta think about is whether you go forward or back. Going back wasn't an option in this case, so I just moved forward. Still, I wanted to know where I was, at least, so I looked down at my map. It was all Greek to me. Last time I'd seen a sign, it was still light out, meaning that I'd gotten lost after the sun had set. Sure, it was my own fault for just guessing which intersections I'd been passing through, and that it'd taken me 2 hours to conclude I was lost. Crazy to think that just 2 hours of aimless driving got me almost completely surrounded by mountains. And they extended as far as the eye could see. If you flipped this scenery upside down and shook it, it's unlikely even a shred of civilization would tumble out. Besides the asphalt below, my sweet ride, and the lamppost above, the first one in a while, mind you, there was nothing man-made here. Well, if there's that, that's a good sign. But still, I would be freaked. The pocket map I had wasn't detailed enough for me to figure out where I was. Guess I'll just keep driving. I'd go as far as I could. Worst comes to worst, I could just camp at the side of the road. This scenario actually reminds me a little bit. I recently visited my parents in the Dominican Republic, and they live in... I'm not sure how to say it in English. They live in... It's a campo, which isn't camp, but it's with this very, very tiny region in Villa Altagracia, and it's very isolated. My brother and I, we arrived at the airport at around 2 a.m. and we got picked up and we're arriving there at 4 a.m. and it was pitch black, no lampposts, no lights of any kind, and that was unnerving. 2 hours later, I deeply regretted ever thinking that. Basically, camping wasn't an option. This mountain road had no side to camp on. A dump truck I'd passed barely even fit on it. I'd also had my first close encounters with wild forest animals. I'd already seen 2 boars and 3 deer in those 2 hours alone. One of the deer had run parallel to my bike while intently staring at me, and I had no idea what to think of that. Yeah, no. I would be turning back. I felt like it could smell my fear and did it just to make it worse. How dare the thing do that to a human? We're the kings of this planet, damn it. I'd have to remember to eat some venison once I came back to civilization. Anyway, camping out here was a bad idea. I'd end up as either roadkill or animal food. And yet I didn't back out. Why? Because I'm a pretty warped sort of guy, and I won't pretend otherwise. That was actually the reason why my once comfortable relationship had gone awry, and why I'd gone on this stupid trip. Still, despite acknowledging that, I chose to keep moving forward. It wasn't like I'd find a place to stay if I went back. I was actually starting to think that this experience might make a good conversation piece sometime down the road. It was getting really late at this point. Where would these roads take me anyway? It'd probably be disappointing. Soon enough, the road became flat. I was out of the mountain pass. The forest remained abundant, though, but I still didn't see much. Even so, the streetlights and signs were enough to make me feel I was again nearing civilization. Was streetlights the right expression for lights in a forest? I'd have to look that up. As the road grew less rugged, I realized just how exhausted I was. All this bike handling had left my hands really sore, too. I really had to rest. Suddenly, I saw something unexpected. Powerful, colorful artificial lights. A convenience store? Yeah, that's exactly what it was. We're entering some liminal space now. It was next to an intersection between the road I was on and another, even thinner road that could probably support only a single car. The sea of trees ended, giving room for the majestic child of our consumerist society. Yeah, that was an exaggeration. Apparently even a damn store was a big deal for someone who just stepped out of the wild. It was called Freshmark. I'd seen several of them a few times during the day. It was probably a local franchise. The building didn't look all that old. At least the parking lot looked a lot smoother compared to the roads. This was a pretty weird place to build something like that, though. Was I close to a settlement? Or did they actually make a profit off of lost travelers? I'd just ask that or something. The local shopkeeper was bound to know what was around these parts. Not to mention, I was thirsty. I was welcomed by a weird chime sound. It looked like a normal convenience store. There were goods on the shelves, counter on the left, and... Whoa! The worker at the counter was so mean-looking, it was scary. She was so imposing, I wouldn't have doubted if someone told me she was in charge of some ladies' army corps. Was that supposed to be a greeting? It was so damn cold it actually gave me chills. Was this store shadier than it appeared? Was I about to be stupidly overcharged? Was this how this place made a profit? By taking advantage of lost people and basically beating them out of their money? Shit, that was scary. Clearly the Wonderland had only just begun. Woo-hoo. I sure was excited for the beating. Ugh. I grew more nervous and less enthusiastic by the second. I braced myself, but she just looked down at a magazine in her hands. Oh. So she was just a slacker. Slightly disappointed, I walked around the store. Disappointed? Okay. It was about what you'd expect. There was a small shelf of energy drinks, followed by some stationaries, travel goods, sanitary stuff, etc. There were sweets that came with toys, a shelf of cup ramen and dried food, a fridge, a freezer. It all looked normal. It was late, so the daily dish and packed lunch section was completely empty. And the only special thing about this place was a section full of unpacked vegetables you'd expect to see at a greengrocer's. Maybe all rural convenience stores were like this. I was slightly surprised by that, but there weren't any local fine foods or anything, so all in all, it was an unremarkable store. If you ignored the clerk, anyway. I took a drink and brought it to the register. Yup, she really was the highlight of this place. What kind of clerk smokes while dealing with a customer? You're actually buying? Yes, I was actually buying. She was the clerk, and I'd be her god, the customer. You're not making a very good first impression, my dude. 126 yen. She didn't even scan it. This exchange was at the mercy of the clerk. God is dead. Maybe I had to get mad at her. Can I ask something? Huh? I'm kind of lost right now. I quickly turned meek. Where can I find the nearest town? There. Don't you have a map or something? We don't. Man, this woman. I'm not sure I believe that. Convenience stores often get asked for directions. You must have a map handy. That a rule? Well, we don't have one. Go back wherever you came from. I've been lost for a few hours now. I don't think I can keep it up for much longer. Asleep on the floor or something? She had to be joking. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'd rather be on my way. Are you sure you can't help? All right. Just wait. The clerk put out her smoke in the ashtray and went to the staff-only area. She came back in no time. Found it. So she did have a map. Of course she did. Even more ill-tempered than usual, the clerk started giving me an explanation. This here's the store. Go to the north of the crossroads. You'll find an overpass soon enough. Cross it. When you come to a fork, next to a giant boulder, turn right and head straight. Huh? On this road? What of it? There's nothing there. There's a settlement. It's just not on the map. Do you know any other places? There's Fujiyoshi, but it's 2 hours through a mountain pass. This one's about 30 minutes away. Fujiyoshi seemed to be a village. It didn't look too far away, but the road leading to it was a huge branching mess. It was clearly just a paved mountain path. I'd had enough of those for one day. I'd probably just get lost again. I'll go to that one then. Thank you. Money. Excuse me? You didn't pay for the tea. Here's 500 yen. Why did you put the change in the collection box without asking me? Having too many coins is a pain, ain't it? That was a hell of a line. I casually thanked her, grabbed the plastic bottle of tea. She didn't give me a bag, by the way, and left the store. I drank the tea in the parking lot and looked up at the moon, obscured by clouds, but still bright enough to outshine the light of the convenience store. The clerk put me in a bad mood, though, so I didn't enjoy the sight. I threw the bottle into a nearby trash can and aggressively drove away. Following the directions, I crossed the overpass and arrived at the first fork in the road. The byway she told me about was really narrow. I probably wouldn't have noticed it if not for the tall boulder standing there like a roadside shrine for some traveler deity. Turning carefully, I got on the road. A minute later, I found myself in an even worse wilderness than before. A veil of dead leaves covered the ground. Tall grass sided the path, and the sky above was blocked by overgrown shrubs, making it feel like I was passing a wooden tunnel. The road itself was a huge red flag. It was a wonder why I didn't just turn around. The exchange from before might have pissed me off more than I thought. Still, I really didn't expect the road to just end. It happened about 15 minutes in. The view ahead suddenly turned strangely dark, and a split second later, the bike tipped forward. I reflexively hit the brakes, but it was too late. I started going down a cliff. My bike tilted downwards, and its suspension was put to the greatest test, yet as we basically tumbled down to the bottom. The headlights suddenly shone on some dirt and grass. I knew then that I'd be flung out of my seat. Stifling a scream, I tried to work some steering and brake magic to slow down without collapsing, but that was too big a task for a simple road bike. At the bottom of the cliff, it jumped higher than ever before. The suspension couldn't handle the impact, and I was launched into the air. A moment later, I heard a crash and felt an impact, after which came an unpleasant pain. Ugh. Damn it. An accident where I was flung out like that was a first for me. The launch was really something too. I did a 360 in the air and fell on my back. My breathing stopped for a moment. The pain was so bad I thought all my bones shattered. My face and limbs seemed pretty fine at least, but I wasn't sure if that counted as a silver lining. There was grass under my hands. I felt it even through the gloves. That, and the smell of green made it pretty clear what I landed on. I pushed down, and my hands sunk. The grass growth was pretty hefty. It was probably the reason why I came out relatively okay. Sure, my joints creaked when I stood up, but aside from that, I was fine. It was really dark, so I couldn't really confirm it, but I was pretty sure I wasn't even bleeding. My bike, however, wasn't nearly as lucky. Oh boy. It was lying on its side a short distance ahead. The engine was still on. The back wheel kept on turning, making an unpleasant, fricative noise. Yep, it was busted. I walked up, killed the engine, and took the key. With the headlights off, I was surrounded by absolute darkness, so I just stood and waited until my eyes adjusted. I still couldn't see very clearly, but it looked like this actually wasn't a cliff. I was still on a road. It just wasn't paved beyond this point. Obviously, a road bike stood no chance against an unpaved road. That woman actually tried to kill me! Zigzagging through the trees, I followed the narrow footpath deeper into the forest. I tried getting my bike up and running again, but instantly gave up. It was partially stuck in mud, so there was a risk of it slipping and getting me into another accident. Maybe I had to turn around? The moment I considered that, I thought I saw a faint light ahead. If that woman wasn't lying, this road led to a settlement. Was I close? I reached into my jacket's pocket, took out my phone, and opened it up. As you expect, I was out of range. I ran the light app and shone a light to see better. Though weak, it was better than nothing. At the very least, it helped me watch where I was going. I had no idea how long I'd been walking for. But sure enough, I could see a light beyond the shrubs. It was weaker than expected. A flashlight, perhaps. I could hear water, too. I might have been near a river. Hello? I raised my voice. Hello? Anyone there? Still declaring my presence, I walked forward. It was late at night. Were I to bump into someone here, the scare would probably take away a few years of our lives. That was why I figured it was best for both of us to let the other know we were here before that happened. However, there was no response. Did they not hear me over the rapids? Hello? I shone my light ahead and realized I'd made it to an opening. Sure enough, there was a river. Or a stream, rather. I could see slightly more than I had while surrounded by trees. Straining my eyes, I saw a rocky river beach and the shallows. The light I'd seen was on the other side. From what I could tell, it was either a lantern or a flashlight, and it was close to the ground. I didn't see any people, though. No one responded to my shouting either. I wasn't excited about it, but I decided to step into the water. The cold water quickly soaked my shoes and socks. I could have taken them off, but I figured that crossing a river barefooted at midnight was a bad idea. But man, was it cold! I put my phone back into my jacket. I needed both my hands free in case I fell. Not stopping or backing down, I walked towards the light. It suddenly became deeper. The water reached my knees now. That was too close for comfort. Feeling the bottom with my toes and balancing myself, I somehow avoided losing my footing. The flow was fiercer than I'd expected. If I slipped and fell, I'd probably be washed away. It suddenly hit me I was doing something really weird, but it was too late to back down. Putting my hands on the boulders and carefully checking what I was stepping on, I gradually made it to the other side. Then, with an unpleasant wet sound in my every step, I walked up to the light. I could already see it clearly. Yep, it was a flashlight, lying on the ground for some reason. There wasn't much space here. It was a narrow riverbank with a cliff right beside it. As you'd expect, I didn't see or sense anyone nearby. What the hell? Though old, the flashlight was working fine. The strength of the light told me the battery was pretty full. That meant that someone was actually using this tonight. Or rather, until just a few moments ago. Ugh, did they trip in the river and get washed away? That was the most logical conclusion. It obviously wasn't left here yesterday afternoon or evening. And yet, the user was nowhere in sight. And I was near a river. Did something bad happen? Did the flashlight's owner step into the stream and get swept away? That was the most likely and worst possible scenario. However, the flashlight was left there, practically buried in the pebbles. It didn't seem like someone placed it there to light things up. It was the dead of night. There was no way you wouldn't notice dropping your flashlight when it was so dark. Right. The fact that a light source was left in a place like this was strange by itself. With that considered, what was going on here? What if someone heard my stupid shouting and decided to lure me in with a light so they could ambush me? Or would they attack from above? Hello? I heard a voice the moment I looked up. The rock cliff was actually made of several boulders. There was a face peeking from behind one of them. Hello? Wow, a person! You surprised me. That was my line. Sorry, could you pick that up for me? The voice was feminine. I finally realized what was going on. So you dropped this. I picked up the flashlight and pointed it at the source of the voice. Ah! High-pitched voice, slender hands shielding the light. Sure enough, it was a young woman. It's so bright! Oh, sorry. This is me, by the way. That's creepy. Don't shine it up from below like that. Actually a bit lost. I think a bit is something of an understatement, then. Yeah, thought as much. Is this a settlement? That's a difficult question. Can you help me out, at least? Help? I just need a place to hide from the rain and wild animals, that's all. Standing on a boulder, the young woman made a pensive face. Wanna come to my place? And that was the conclusion she'd arrived at. Her face told me she was 100% serious. Place. My place. By that, she surely meant a house. A settlement. Can I? I know I asked for help and all that, but I'm actually desperate enough to not hold myself back. Huh? As a man? Yes, I mean, no, as a living being. I spent the last few hours aimlessly driving around only to fall off my bike. I'm dead tired and I'm at my wit's end here. Oh dear. Then what kind of living being would I be if I just abandoned you? And so I was saved. Oh, the beauty of living beings looking out for each other. Anyway, your hand, please. You can't climb up on your own, yeah? True. Honestly, I didn't even realize I'd have to. Meeting another person filled me with relief, which was followed by a sudden wave of fatigue. It wasn't crippling, though. She extended her left hand, so I grabbed it with my own left. Her slender fingers were stronger than expected. The girl's name was Chiemi Serizawa. I asked if she was related to the Shinsengumi guy, but she said that her family just adopted the name at some point in the Meiji period. She was a 21-year-old who went to college far away from here. This was her hometown, and she was spending her post-exams vacation here. We chatted about stuff like that once she'd led me out of the rocky ravine. There was actually a proper path, so the rock climbing was pretty pointless, but I was too focused on my footing to comment. She told me about herself as soon as we reached solid ground. And what about you? Haruaki Fusaishi, a graduate student in Tokyo College. Ah, so you're a bit older. 24, so 3 years, I'd say. We're in the same age range. Yeah, so don't you dare be formal with me. All right, then. You can be casual with me, too. Can I, really? I like it when girls are friendly with me. Well, I know what you mean. I don't like stiff socializing either. Sure, I'll treat you like a friend. Wouldn't have it any other way. That aside, are we there yet? Not quite. We're like 5 minutes away. Hang in there, Chief. What a lively girl. You could tell she was used to people. Also, watch your step and focus on just the light. Any reason? There are loads of pebbles here. It's dangerous. The moment she said that, I stumbled on a rock too big to be called a pebble. And it's pretty dark tonight. I couldn't even see the moon anymore. Nodding in agreement, I focused on following the light in her hand. I gotta change. Wait here a sec. And so, I did just that. Given this was a mountain settlement, I'd expected some old wooden house, but she actually lived in an apartment block. It was too dark to get a good look at it. All I could see were the cheap-looking walls like you'd expect from some old boarding house for students. Also, she lived on the second floor, in room 202. I'd heard some raindrops as we were climbing the rusty stairs, but now it was really pouring. Between that, the darkness, and the large tree right next to the building, it was nearly impossible to see what was going on outside. It felt like I was all alone in a world of nothing but the walls, the door, and the fluorescent lamp above my head. It made me feel... I distracted myself from that by imagining her changing. Eventually, the door opened up. Sorry about the wait. Come in. All smiles, she showed herself, now wearing sports clothes. This was kind of exciting. Look at this place. It's completely empty, huh? Yep. But get a load of what's in the fridge. Magnificent. Let's drink! Hell yeah! Yeah, her place was really empty. It was just a small room with a low table in the middle, a fridge near the door, and a large duffel bag deeper in. There were 2 old-looking bookshelves too, but they were completely empty. This is such a bizarre scenario to me. I would be deathly afraid of inviting a stranger, no matter what gender they were, to my house if I just met them out in the woods. I would just... I mean, I don't know what the rest of the surroundings is like, but I'd try to just find them an inn or something. A hotel. There were 2 old-looking bookshelves too, but they were completely empty. And also from his perspective as well, I'd be so wary about going into a complete stranger's house. If there's no other option... I don't know. I wasn't bothered one bit, though. Any girl's room was a wonderland to me. Anyway, you went through some big troubles, so I'll drink to you. And I'll drink to you for helping me out. You're a real saint. We opened up our cans, knocked them together, and downed them. Hey, it was actually good. The pleasant bitterness and the refreshing carbonation made for a good combo. Whoa! Oh, so good! I live for this! Come on, you're too young to say that. Yeah, you're right. I'm not despairing for my future love life yet. You hear that? That's the sound of job hunting. It's a-comin' here fast. No, don't say that. You'll ruin my beer. She laughed and took a huge sip. It was pretty clear she could hold her drink. At a side, something really bothered me. This might be a bit late for this, but can I ask you something? Go ahead. Her cheeks were already red. Maybe she didn't handle her liquor as well as I thought. She had a well-featured face, and I didn't think it was wrong to consider her beautiful. Sure, her clothes weren't the least bit sexy, but I could tell she had some makeup on. Come on, dude. To you, I'm just some stranger who says he's lost, right? Yep. And you yourself are a young woman who invited that stranger into an enclosed space and started getting drunk. Oh. Don't you think this is dangerous? She kept gulping the drink, even as she formulated a response. The very fact that I could just watch her do that made this a pretty risky situation, and yet... I wouldn't say so. But... Time for a Chiemi Serizawa quiz. Yay! Here's the question. My virginity is threatened, yet I don't feel like I'm in danger. Why? What a fun girl. This only made me like her more, increasing the danger even further. The danger? The danger? Would you like to explain that? Am I allowed to ask questions? Sure. Can I just assume that it's not because I look like a good guy? Well, I don't think you look like a bad guy, but no, I doubt you're good either. You look experienced with women, for one. That unintentional compliment showed that she actually did see me as a potential danger. There are two types of answers to this. Either you expect nothing bad to happen, but wouldn't be bothered if it did, or you actually want something to happen. I can think of several situations for the former. For example, you're actually on the edge and don't care about what happens. Or maybe you're just confident you can defend yourself. Maybe you know martial arts and can easily kick my ass. Wow, so logical. Let me guess, you're a scientist. Well, I guess you could say that. Now, for the latter, if you intend for something to happen, then... I'm a thirsty perv or something. Wow. Talk about not mincing words. I blame the booze. So what else is there? Indeed. What other reason could a woman have to bring a stranger to her home? It would surely be something non-standard like... You want to use me somehow. For example, setting me up as an alibi. I could be useful to you by attesting that you were here. Wow, that's so shrewd. Or maybe you're a serial killer who brought me here just to get me drunk and kill me. Wow, so I'm some evil mountain witch now. Sounds great. I'll kill you real good. Splash, splash. What kind of sound effect was that? If I had to guess, considering she mentioned witch, that was her shoving you into her cauldron. The splashing noise. By the way, you forgot another case. I did. Yep, I could just be a really good person who simply wants to help you. Was it time for me to be ashamed of my filthy mind? Yes. But wait, is that really important enough to risk being assaulted? Oh, so you're thinking of assaulting me? I'm just talking in general. You know, the cliché scenario. She stopped talking and turned red. It was so cute, I thought she was actually doing it on purpose. Man, was she drunk. And we were just on our second cans. Then how about this? If I don't let you stay here, something even worse would happen and I'd feel real bad. Care to elaborate? I don't know if I agree with you there. If Haruiki was the type to assault someone, I'm not gonna assume he is. Though his danger comment did make me slide him. If he was the type of person to do that, I don't think it'd be a worse thing if he just ended up dying in the forest. There's some scary wild animals around here. You might have gotten torn up and eaten. That'd have left a bad taste in my mouth, so I figured I'd just let you stay instead. I see. So you're balancing risk and goodwill. Didn't expect that. Really now? You got any idea how much of a bad guy you seem now? Huh? I do. I mean, you assumed I was a thirsty perv, a serial killer, or needed an alibi before considering I was just a nice person. You're the one who brought up the perv thing. Details, details. So what's the right answer? Huh? We're not just messing around. Get it right, and I'm giving you a nice present. Get it wrong and you're dead. Splash, splash. Seriously? Damn, does this mean you need 20 keys to... You're desperate, you needed an alibi, you're a thirsty perv. You'd feel guilty if you let me die. When we did meet her at the, cliff, she did pause as if considering things. And seeing as how she just said that she was measuring possibly the risk of both inviting him and just leaving him out. And yeah, I'd go if you'd feel guilty. Either that or you're a thirsty perv. Ding ding ding! You're right! Oh. Cool. Well, I wasn't joking when I said this area's dangerous. There's deers, boars, wild dogs, and bears. Beers? Bears? I actually saw deer and boars myself, but... bears? Yep, moon bears, though. They aren't big, but they do attack. It's pretty dangerous out there. That's just... wild. But there's something even worse. Hmm? What? Worse than bears? Snakes, monkeys, crows, spiders. I know everything else that has been listed so far is more dangerous than the spiders, but that's the one that would scare me the most. Huh? Were they venomous or something? I really doubted that. Those really didn't seem worse than bears. Also wolves. There aren't any wolves in Japan. Yeah, there are. You're in the sticks, you know? She smiled and drank out of the third can. Speaking of wolves, whatever the reason, you've ended up coming into a pretty girl's home. Won't you become a wolf yourself? Nope. What a gentleman. Have another one. I wasn't too sure, but I felt like she dodged the subject. Perhaps I wasn't being cautious enough. But then again, I'd been wandering aimlessly for a long time by now. I'd had enough recklessness in me to enjoy sharing a drink with a cute, if shady, girl. Gotta take a swig of my own drink. The last thing I remember was our little, "When was the last time you pissed yourself while sleeping?" talk. I had to tell about the time I got so drunk I wet my pants in the middle of the boarding house. She laughed so hard she started frothing at the mouth and passed out. Frothing? Do you mean drooling? Frothing's concerning. I woke up with a splitting headache. I thought frothing was something... Oh man. Morning already? Light poured in through the frosted window. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. 7 in the morning. I'd gone to sleep somewhere between 2 and 3, which probably wasn't quite enough sleep. At least I didn't wake up to some horror movie scene. The building wasn't in ruins, and the girl wasn't actually a skeleton. Though, in a way, this might have been worse. She was spread out on the floor on the other side of the mini-table. Her breathing was mixed with some weird gurgling sounds. Prop her head up. I hesitantly looked at her. The saint that saved me from the hell I was in last night had puked in the middle. Oh, yeah. Oof. Had puked in the middle of her sleep. What was I supposed to do here? As a guest, I couldn't really be too harsh on her. It's Jamie-chan. Good thing she didn't choke on that. Ew. She wasn't waking up. Well, I'd do what little I could. There, that should be good enough. I'd used tons of toilet paper to clean up her mess and flush it down the toilet. Left a stain on the floor, but it was dirty to begin with, so whatever. I even got a towel and cleaned her face. Even then, she showed no signs of waking up. Some of it was on her hair and clothes, but I figured it was best if she took care of that herself. Chiemi-chan.
Morning.
The first hint of consciousness so far today. I'll be leaving for a bit. Without waiting for a response, I walked to the entrance. You'd have to take a shower and change and all that, so I'd kill time outside. I stepped into my still damp shoes with my bare feet. My socks were in the washing machine with the towel she gave me to wipe my legs, and reached for the doorknob. I opened the door and was greeted by a gust of wind. The raindrops gathered on the leaves of the tree next to the building, flew right into my face, making me grimace. The rain from last night was already over. The sky was pretty clear, but despite that, I noticed the visibility of my surroundings was poor. The building was surrounded by leaves. The old structure was basically buried in a forest of trees about as tall as itself. There were branches poking into the exposed hallway. It almost felt like they'd reach out and grab me if I wasn't careful. I kind of felt like I was in an overgrown ruin. I turned around and saw the room and Chiemi, just as I left him. Yep, it was all real. I closed the door. There were other rooms in this building, which made me wonder if they were occupied. Hell, I wondered the same thing about the area in general. I pushed the branches aside to see if there were other buildings nearby. Suddenly, something entered my vision. It didn't feel right. Something that shouldn't have been there. The leaves I moved revealed a woman clad in curious clothing. The moment I recognized her as such, she opened her closed eyes. Did our eyes meet? Another strong wind. I shielded my face from spray of raindrops. When I looked outside again, the woman was nowhere in sight. Was that an illusion? If not, then what? What kind of place was this? It could have been a real Hicksville, a marginal village, a bunch of actual ruins, or an illegal settlement. I had some theories, but I set them aside for now. It seemed like a place worth exploring regardless. I went down the stairs and found no sign of the woman, or anyone else for that matter. A short distance away from the building, I turned around, and sure enough, it was pretty much covered in trees. I went to the place where I saw the woman. There were footprints in the grass here. Maybe I'd find her if I followed them. They led me to an open area. It was unused, but it looked like someone was trying to do something with it. Was it supposed to be a construction site? Even if it was clearly abandoned. There were large rocks and lots of sediment near a prefab. From what I could tell, there had been a giant landslide, which forced them to stop construction. The fact that plant growth was still minimal meant that it happened fairly recently. The footprints seemed to be going down the hill next to the site. Following them, I finally saw something that could be called civilization. There was a set of paddy fields with houses nearby. So this actually was a settlement. Oh, what a relief. I decided to keep following the footprints and approach the settlement. I came across another unpaved path that was clearly used by people and cars. It was lined with weeds and bushes reaching up to my waist. It was home to caterpillars and grasshoppers, among other things. Spiders were no exception. There were no shortage of insects there. It was a good place for a net. I wasn't particularly scared of spiders, but I didn't like them either. And at least they were just harmless orb weavers. Regardless, I avoided these bushes, just in case, and followed the path like a good city boy I was. There was a large boulder surrounded by grass. It was strangely tall, making it look like it was put there by people. On its dewy surface, there was a gray tree frog, ready to go after the many insects scattered about. I walked a bit further and came across a house with a small field nearby. The field's location made it safe to assume it belonged to the inhabitants. If there were inhabitants anyway, I couldn't see anyone. And just like always, there was grass everywhere. There was another boulder next to the house. This one was obviously placed there by human hand. What was the point? Was it a monument or something? The footprints continued into the field. The wet mud on the field was full of small, young, but healthy-looking rice plants. If you'd ignored the standing boulders in the area, the place looked like a normal farming village. I was both relieved and worried at the same time. From what I saw, there weren't any other buildings besides the ones in this settlement. Everything beyond was just mountains, meaning that the place was completely isolated. And I was a complete outsider. There was no way things would go well if I ran into a random local. I belatedly crouched to hide myself a bit. Well, that's gonna make you seem weird. It was probably best for me to go back. Jamie might have been looking for me. Suddenly, I heard a sound. I looked for its source and found a speaker on a wooden utility pole in the middle of a small plaza. A morning broadcast. I'd never heard this tune before. It was cheerful at first, but had some parts that seemed really dark. I found it unsettling. Perplexed, I stopped walking, and what happened next made me hide myself. There was a person in the area densely surrounded by houses. But they weren't normal. What was with that appearance? What was that on her face? Though I was a fair distance away, I could see an old woman with some sort of cloth over her face shakily walk out from between the buildings. Oddly enough, there were boulders even there. But even weirder was the fact that she walked up to one of them, lightly joined her hands, and bowed her head before it, her face still hidden. Then, all was silence. It actually looked like she was revering it. To me, it looked like she was praying to it. This was bad, really bad. I'd wandered into a settlement with a unique culture, to put it lightly. Forget causing trouble. An outsider like me could get killed here. I just turned around and ran for it. I dashed up the hill, past the house, through the construction site, until I arrived back at the apartment building. Shamie looked like a relatively reasonable person. Maybe she could tell me what was up? It just hit me that the way she described this place was somewhat weird. She basically said it wasn't normal. Or maybe you're a serial killer who's brought me here just to get me drunk and kill me. Whoa! So I'm some kind of evil mountain witch now. Sounds great. I'll kill you real good. Splosh, splosh. No way. What if she was actually the bait they used to lure outsiders here? Eventually, the broadcast stopped. Chiemi still hadn't come out of her room. She didn't respond even when I knocked or called out to her. I didn't have to worry about this, right? That just made my inexplicable unease grow worse. What if this was a trap? Was I in a dangerous situation? I had to talk to her. If she was a normal person, anyway. Maybe my best option was to run away right now. I wouldn't know where to run. I couldn't remember the path we'd taken here, though I was pretty sure we went uphill, so maybe I had to go down? If I avoided this settlement and went back to the mountain stream, I could escape by following the wild roads. That was my best option, even with the difficulties considered. Thankfully, I'd taken my bag with me. I took out a 5,000 yen note and put it in Shamie's newspaper box. It was payment for last night's beer. The moment I turned around to take my leave, the door to the next room to the staircase opened slightly with a creak. I saw an eye glaring at me through the gap. Gah! Her high-pitched scream pierced my eardrums. I screamed too, scared shitless, and ran for it. Suddenly, I stepped into the wet hallway floor at a bad angle. I fell. Thud, thud, thud. Haru-chan, what's wrong? Whoa, who's this old guy? Who are you? Are you alright? The reasonable-sounding voice prompted me to shake off the pain and raise my head. They were two boys in formal-looking school uniforms. Are you alright? He repeated the question. Yeah, I was just startled. You friends with Chieni? Chieni? Oh, you mean Chiemi-chan. Are you a friend of hers from college? She didn't tell us anyone was visiting. Oh, I just got into some trouble and she helped me out. There's nothing shady about me, though I know that's hard to believe. It really is, old man. Man, how do I handle this? Anyway, my name's Haruaki Fusaishi. I'm Yasunaga Orebi? I'm not sure. This is Chikamochi Kamoshida. Oribi, maybe.
Just Mochi is fine.
Good to know. If I called him that, maybe he'd stop calling me old man. I was only 24. And this is... Haru-chan, what are you doing?
We don't know him.
Apparently this Haru-chan was the person who looked at me through the gap in the door and screamed. He seems safe. Come out. A moment later, she slammed the door shut, and after a few more moments of hesitation, opened it again. The bottom pin looks like the lime wire symbol. I probably just showed my age with that. Whoa. She looked like a student too, except her fashion sense was exceptionally, flashy. Actually, let me see, how do I see she also has some bracelet What is the button to get rid of the text box? Got a cute belt. Be some sort of water bottle on her side. 2 bracelets. An armband. 2 pins. It's cute. Let me look at the other things that we saw here. Load, next, options, chart, keys. Alright.
Who are you?
Name's Haruaki Fusaishi. I crashed my motorbike nearby and Jamie Serizawa-san helped me out.
Wait, you're saying you spent the night in her room?
Yeah, She cut my words short with her ear-piercing shriek.
So that's why it was so noisy. What were you thinking? You're not supposed to enter an unmarried girl's room. It's indecent.
Yeah, I was hesitant too, but Jamie-chan was kind enough to let me in.
Why are you acting like you've known her your whole life? Wait, she's not getting out. Don't tell me you...
Do you like her?
There's a 5,000 yen note in the door.
I'm not gonna scream. I have neighbors and I'm in an apartment building. Don't tell me you... No. She just gave me lots of booze. I'm paying back for that.
Chienie's body is worth way more than that. How dissolute.
The hell are these kids saying? Hey, can you help me out? You drank with a girl you just met, and she's not coming out. Crap. I had no allies here.
What's going on?
And so the subject of the conversation joined in. Oh, Jamie-chan, can you tell them what happened last night? Oh god, is she not gonna remember? Oh, that's gonna be awful. Something was off about her aura. What happened to the lively girl she'd been yesterday? Jenny, did you...
Man, this is embarrassing.
Whoa. Wait, hold on, stop! Oh my god, oh god. Oh jeez, oh boy.
I can't be a bride anymore.
Man, what a mess. Though Jamie's face was all pale, she was actually grinning. She obviously had a bad hangover, but that didn't stop her from messing around. After calming everyone down, Jamie explained what actually happened. How we met in the middle of the night, how she let me stay out of goodwill, how we drank ourselves silly, and how nothing happened between us.
Man, it's been so long since I drank that much. Guess I wasn't prepared for it and puked it out. Sorry you had to see that, Haruaki-san.
Hey, I don't mind it. That Haru-chan girl is still looking at me funny.
Absurd.
Anyway, sorry. I was so tired yesterday that I couldn't refuse her kindness. Well, this is Chieni we're talking about. She does whatever she wants. He's got good reasons for being here, too, so maybe the elders will understand. Where did you find him, anyway?
Well...
Next to the river, further down. My words made everyone change their expressions. That's a bit...
A big deal. 2 people over just 2 days.
Did I say something bad?
He was gonna get out sooner or later. We made quite a scene, so I wouldn't be surprised if everyone in Yasumizu already knows.
Hey, what did you mean by 2 people for just 2 days?
Don't touch me, you're filthy!
I wasn't trying to touch her, and I wasn't filthy. Sure, I hadn't had a bath in over a day, but still. Hey you, why is it a big deal?
Taiba's gonna go eat!
Well, that sure sounded bad. Can you tell me more? It's a bit complicated. For now, just keep in mind that this is the countryside. Things are different here than in the city. This guy here was Oribe-kun. Ignore Chiemi, and he was the easiest person to talk to. What should I do?
Just leave it to me, alright? It's time for students to eat, isn't it? Huh? But I want to see where this mess goes. No, you don't. Just go already. We'll catch up.
Well, I guess it's best to go separately. There's probably gonna be some disagreements.
Yeah, I knew you'd understand, Yasukun. Take care of them for me, alright?
Sure.
Stop treating me like a child. Yeah, I swear I'll poop on you.
Let's get going, you two. And so the students walked off towards the stairs. It was kind of easy to tell what sort of relationship they had. Anyway. So they live in this building too.
Yep, it's a student dorm, you know?
A student dorm? In this Hicksville?
Hello, Mighty. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. You're doing well.
Still, my eyes had betrayed me. There actually were other people here.
By the way, you didn't run into anyone else and get in trouble, right?
Yeah, I was careful on that front. Oh, you did get seen by one person.
Good. Let's get ready to go to the dining hall.
Oh, for breakfast?
Nope, eat your breakfast now. We'll go to the dining hall to introduce you.
Huh? To who?
To whoever has a problem with an outsider coming from Saranaga.
Oh. Like that Taiba person, huh? I'm in your hands, then.
It's fine. If you're that grateful, keep what happened this morning a secret.
Sure thing. What's Saranaga, anyway? That river?
Yep. The river is called Saranaga Rapids, but the area around it is called Saranaga. The place has some cultural significance.
It does.
Yep, they say it's a corrupt place where the dead return from the other side.
Oh. So that's why they reacted like that. Okay. Okay. Food for thought. Any other rules or customs I should be aware of?
Oh, there's lots, so just leave everything to me, alright?
Gladly, on all fronts. If I may ask, am I in danger?
No, but you should try to escape before something unpleasant happens to you.
And you're gonna lay the groundwork for that, huh?
Yep.
You know, I would have asked what unpleasant things she means. The settlement I'd strayed to was a weird place, but at least the guide was reliable. And she wanted me to leave ASAP, huh? That was depressing. Chiemi gave me some cup ramen for breakfast. She boiled the water in a small electric kettle. The girl herself was too hungover to eat anything, I did take the opportunity to pay her back for last night's drink in person, though. Then we made our way to the dining hall. What are these boulders?
They're like charms, I guess. They've been here forever.
I've never seen anything like them anywhere else.
Oh yeah, I guess they're kind of unique to this area.
She led me along a narrower path than I'd followed earlier. It didn't seem like any cars used this one. It was very, farmy, I guess? The area was also littered with those boulders. Some were cracked, broken, or half buried in the fields. They were clearly religious symbols, but it didn't look like they were that important these days. Or were they? Now that I knew I was safe, I once again became curious about this place. Oh, there's a person. He was working on the field.
That's Takumi Ni-chan. Morning!
Chiemi waved her hand. The man responded, but then froze mid-wave.
Let's go.
Are you sure we should? The guy looked pretty surprised to see me.
Don't worry, he'll be at the dining hall soon. We'll explain things then.
Well, if she said so. As an outsider, I have no choice but to rely on her. That was the part of the village I saw this morning, where the buildings were more densely packed. I didn't notice it back then, but it was actually kind of weird. Basically, it felt desolate. The wooden bungalows, in particular, were more or less overgrown, buried in tall grass and other greenery. If this was all I saw of the village and someone told me it was abandoned, I'd have easily believed them. However, two of the buildings stood out. There was a hall right beyond the hill. It wasn't that big, but it looked grand and well maintained. The other building was obviously the dining hall. It looked a bit dirty, but I could tell there were people inside. From what I could tell, it was the most lively place in this poor excuse for a community. Suddenly, the three students walked out, chatting about something.
Ah, Chieni. Fusaishi-san. Morning again. Aren't you late? We took forever because Mochi doesn't stop saying nonsense. Yeah, I'm evil. Give me miso soup. Oh, you'll make it if you hurry. Behave in class, you guys.
Half dashing, the three ran up the path we came from. They're all in high school, huh?
Yep, there's a bright school all the way up the mountain. I was going there myself 3 years ago.
Sounds like a hassle.
It's not all bad. At least we get to live in that dorm.
Jamie was entirely straight-faced. There wasn't even a hint of a smile.
All right, let's get psyched.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced.
We laughed a little and passed the curtain.
Welcome. Oh.
The inside was as aged as the outside, but it looked well maintained.
Is he a visitor, Chiemi-chan?
The hostess-looking lady asked. Though somewhat aged and fatigued, she was definitely beautiful. There were two others besides her. One was a lady in her 70s or 80s. She was probably the one I saw this morning. The silhouette matched. The other was a man who seemed a bit younger than her, probably in his 60s, late 60s. Though they were just sitting there, there was a menacing aura about them.
I'll introduce him. This is Haruaki Fusaishi. I found him at Saranaga last night and took him into my care.
Their reactions were powerful. The lady gasped, while the two elders rose to their feet with alarm. The tension that was already there the moment I walked in reached its peak.
I know you're concerned, but this is just a coincidence. Unlike that little girl, he knows exactly where he came from. He went on an old path with his bike and crashed it. It's actually really sad. That's why I think we should help him leave. What do you think?
After saying all that, Jamie fell silent. The ball was in their court now.
Now that is troubling.
The lady voiced a harmless opinion, careful not to upset the old people. It was pretty clear who was in charge. They were elders in more ways than one.
Chi-chan, why did you even go to Saranaga at night? I had a hunch, I guess. You know what happened. I couldn't fall asleep. Then he's got to be a Yomibito!
Shut it, Taba. From the conversation, it was pretty clear that something had happened before I arrived here. It was probably similar to what happened with me. You mentioned some little girl. Perhaps there was a child who wandered in here like I did. According to Chiemi, the Saranaga Rapids were a place of significance around here. It was a place from which dead people came to life or whatever. Oh, so this Tai must have been the lady that Boyd mentioned, and the Yomibito must have been a term for the dead who came from there. Apparently the primary goal here was convincing these elders to approve helping me. Where you from? The old man's voice put my derailed mind back on track. I'm from Tokyo. How old are ya? 24. Older than Chi, eh? He chuckled. I immediately realized he was taking a jab at me for hiding behind a younger girl. Nice to meet you. I'm Haruaki Fusaishi, like she said. I wandered into town after my bike crashed. I seem to be a total outsider here, so I didn't want to speak out of turn. That's why I asked her to talk on my behalf, but I think I should say something at least. I won't trouble you any longer than I have to, so I would be grateful if you would pardon my brief stay. And please don't blame her for helping me.
Hey, Haruaki-san!
I think she went against this village customs by helping me out. The students also seemed surprised.
My.
I'm an adult. I'm willing to take responsibility for any trouble I caused as best as I can. So, please, put up with me. I bowed my head. He seems alright to me, Tagba.
Don't know about that. Look at his hair, all colored brown.
Shit, I forgot I didn't look very presentable to more traditionalist people. Outsiders are all like that. Just help him get out of here, I says.
See what you want.
I guess I got their half-hearted approval? Haruaki. Haru, eh? Just like my granddaughter. Ugh, what a mess. Oh, so that means you're...
Yep, he's Haru-chan's grandpa, Hanzo Makishima.
A pleasure. I didn't know what else to say. Haru-chan and I weren't on the best of terms so far. Anyway, it seems like we were past the difficult part. Drove into Saranaga, eh? No, actually. I asked for directions at a convenience store, went down a side road, and ended up losing control on an unpaved section. And then you went in Saranaga. I didn't just turn around. He wasn't impressed by my choice of actions. It just hit me that I had no idea how much time had passed between the crash and my meeting with Chiemi. Takumi and I'll go see it.
Takumi is working in the field.
It's to get him to leave. Let the boy help.
You never change, Kan-chan.
Oh, so many voices. What's going on here? We were joined by a new inhabitant. Yasumizu, who's that guy?
Oh, Takumi Ni-chan.
Oh, so he was the one we saw in the field. Wow, he sure looked big from up close. All that field work was good for his muscles, clearly. And from what I could tell, he was in his 30s. As Chiemi introduced me and told me of my situation, I found out his name, Takumi Muro. Man, that must have been hard. So, old man Kanzo, we'll pick it up. I thought so. Hi, Bachan, wait a bit. I'll help the guy. I already spread the stuff in the fields, so I'll mow the grass at noon.
What a good boy.
It ain't a big deal. I'll be quick so you'll think nothing happened.
Good to hear.
Nothing, eh?
Boy.
Huh? Me? What is it?
You're in Yasumizu. It ain't a good place.
It was the place that wasn't good. Not my presence here.
We don't like outsiders here, and outsiders should let sleeping dogs lie. So you should hurry up and leave.
That's the plan. So it's settled.
Yep, thanks Takumi Ni-chan.
I was beginning to understand how things worked here. Although Kanzo Makishima's voice was the most powerful here, it was also important to get Tae-san's approval. Kanzo-san was probably in charge of tackling the settlement's practical problems, while Tae-san provided spiritual and moral direction. And when it was time to be civilized, Takumi-san came and convinced Tae-san, acting as an intermediary. It looked like Takumi-san himself understood such subtleties, and Chiemi seemed to rely on this side of him. Here you go. The lady brought some tea to the old folk. Perfect timing. Oh, Kaori-san, looking forward to getting some food. So that was her name. Sure, I'll make a lot. It'll be a reward for waking up early and working hard. Hey, I'm doing it for Yasumizu, Bachan. And you. It's nothing, really. Oh my. These two sure seem to get along. They looked about the same age, too. Would you like something to eat, too? No thank you. I already ate. Then here's some tea. I can also set you a late snack if you'd like. What would you say to some onigiri? Oh, that would be... Sorry, can we borrow the phone? We need it quick. Oh? Sure, but why not have some tea first? Thanks, but it's urgent. Let's go, Haruaki-san. Sure? Would it be bad if we ate some of the food here? It didn't look like I could say no. We went up the nearby stairs to what seemed like a living space. At the end of the creaky hallway, there was a black rotary phone, a rarity in this day and age. This is the only phone in all of Yasumizu, by the way. Seriously? Oh, and not a single mobile service provider works in this area. Really? Wait, who do you want me to call anyway? Road service, insurance, stuff like that. And family if you have to. Oh, that makes sense. Hell, I should have been the one to say that. Like I said, it'd be best if you left as soon as possible, so you should use everything you have. Because outsiders aren't welcome here. Yep. And I shouldn't pry any further, huh? Haruaki-san, I see you catch on quickly. That's good. But you also seem really curious. It shows, huh? Of course it does. Honestly, though, you should avoid sticking your nose into things. Yeah, if I was in this situation, I would just be doing everything to get out of there as quickly as possible. Like, if these people are saying outsiders aren't welcome here, they're talking about spirits, the fear of them coming to life. And be like, you know what? I just don't want to meddle things. They're probably if this was a real life situation, they're probably all fine folk. But I'm gonna listen to their advice. But if that's what we did in this visual novel, then there probably wouldn't be a story. Just like how you sometimes need people to be dumb in horror movies. Oh, did I miss something? Okay. But we'll part ways soon anyway.
Exactly.
That's kinda sad.
Oh? You want my contact info?
If you're willing to give.
Yay! That makes you guy number 53 on the list.
Damn, if that ain't a letdown.
We still went on to exchange our info. I could only hope that being number 53 wasn't as big a problem as it sounded.
Anyway, I'd still like to know the reason why me being here is such a big deal.
I don't recommend it.
But why?
Because it'd make me upset.
You don't like it here?
Yeah, I actually hate it.
Huh, if that's the case, why'd you decide to take your vacation here? Was there family you were you were concerned about? Voice is starting to fry. I'll probably just go for another 20 minutes.
Yeah, I actually hate it.
You seem to get along with the people, though.
That's just how it looks. I was a huge problem child, so I feel kind of awkward around the older folk here. And there's tons of things you can't see right away. But I can't say I actually hate the people.
With that, I decided to stop prying about this place any further. I'd back away before she came to hate me. Oh, can I ask one thing, though?
Ooh, gutsy. Go ahead.
Do you like that Takumi Muro guy?
What? Me? Like him?
Yeah.
No way. Takumi-ni-chan's cool and all, but he's too rugged and over a decade older than me. He's out of my strike zone. And he's always only had eyes for a Kaori-san.
It sure felt like it. They married or something.
Nope, Kaori-san's a widow.
Well, that seemed complicated. That aside, Jamie had been acting a bit strange. Why had she dragged me away from the tea? It seemed so awkward, too. Assuming she hadn't been jealous of Kaori-san and simply didn't want her to charm me, it would mean that she just hadn't wanted me to drink the tea. Why? Also, why'd she feed me a cup of ramen if I could have just gotten food at the dining hall? Yeah, that's exactly why Looking too deep into things was part of my nature, though things were never as bad as I assumed. I have a feeling that in this case you're gonna be right on the dime. I went on to call my insurance company when I found out something. Apparently this village was hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest service station, meaning I was ineligible for the normal service and had to pay extra. And the extra was no small amount too. It actually went over 100,000 yen. Also, I could have avoided this if I had taken a more expensive plan. This was all my own fault for not taking the bike salesman advice. Shit. I said I would consider it, and hung up. Then I went back to the dining hall. Huh? Where'd everyone go? The customers had changed completely. Tae-san, Kanzo-san, and Takumi-san were all gone. They were replaced by a caricature of a juvenile delinquent. I have no more voices, so I'm just gonna read this one normally. The fuck are you? He shouted at me. He seemed like he was trying too hard. He then slammed his bow and chopsticks on the table and stood up to intimidate me. I'm Haruaki Fusaishi. The hell? You wanna go? Goodness, Yoshitsugu, don't talk like that to someone you just met. Shut up, hag. Janie, the hell is this asshole?
Haruaki-san, a traveler who crashed his bike.
Boy, was that introduction half-assed.
Let me introduce them to you. This is Kaori Oribe, and her second son, Yoshitsugu-kun. Yasunaga-kun's the first.
Huh? Yasunaga-kun? The guy you introduced me to this morning.
Yep, they may not look at it first, but they're alike, don't you think?
The Oribes. What an unpredictable family. Stop talking about bro, you ugly bitch.
Call me that all you want. I'm confident in my popularity.
And from what I'd seen, that confidence was well justified. Fuck off back to the city, you idiot. Stupid dumbass.
Oh no, Haruaki-san. I don't think I can argue with that.
What? You were an idiot? Alrighty then. Stupid. You're stupid.
Oh, how mean.
Join me, Yoshitsugu-kun. Stupid. Huh? What the hell? Don't talk shit about Chieni. You're pretty conflicted, aren't you? Sorry, Chimi-chan. I was just playing. Hello, Zuni. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. Oh yeah, he seems like a stand-up guy.
Wow, one nice reversal after another. It takes quite a man to surprise me.
I just don't want to lose to you, that's all. You dating or something? Boy, did I wish.
Stop it, Yoshitsugu. You're already late. Change and go to school.
Shut up, I ain't going. Mumbling something, the kid walked out of the dining hall, leaving his half-full bowl behind.
I'm sorry about that. How embarrassing. He's a really good boy deep down, though.
Yeah, I could actually see that. Somewhat. By the way, where are Makishima-san and Muro-san?
They went to pick up your bike.
Oh no, I gotta hurry after them.
Hey, they know where it is. They'll be fine, don't you think?
Well, you just have to set it on neutral and push. But I'm not sure they'll know how to do it. And of all people should help. They might go about it the wrong way.
If that's all, then you shouldn't bother.
Why?
Because you're an outsider. I wouldn't suggest spending too much time alone with them.
They didn't seem that bad to me.
That's because they're adults. Don't assume everyone here is as welcoming as me. I'm an exception. You might get along fine, but you might also set them off. This place is already far from normal. Don't risk making it worse. She's right, I say. They insisted you leave it to them, so that's what you should do.
You think so too?
Yes, the men here are pretty serious about Yasumizu having its own way of doing things.
I could somewhat understand that.
A visitor should behave like one. Doing anything more would be uncalled for. It was an old-fashioned way of thinking. But this was an old-fashioned kind of place for sure.
Where do we wait then?
At my place.
I expected as much, but it still made me curious. Normally you'd expect we'd sit around and drink some tea right here. So why didn't we? As we waited, Chiemi, casually but uncomfortably, told me several things. First, I found out that the people here in Yasumizu were a bit on edge right now. The reason for that was the fact that, excluding me, they had 3 whole outsiders here. I'd assumed this myself, what I knew so far, but apparently yesterday morning a little girl was found straying around the Saranaga Rapids. They couldn't even find out her name, let alone who her parents were, so they didn't know how to handle her. For now, one of the inhabitants was looking after her. Like I'd been told, the more superstitious inhabitants, Kai-san mostly, saw her as bad omen. I suggested leaving her to the police, but Chiemi didn't seem to think it was a good idea. It barely made sense to me, but if I were to believe her, things around here were such that not even the cops could do anything. And apparently, the remaining 2 outsiders were a pair of journalists gathering info for a magazine article. Oh, those people have... No, those... If we ever meet those two absolutely have a target on their head. Journalists? Rip to real ones. Unlike the little girl and I, they'd come here via the normal route, through Kamifuji-yoshi, and therefore weren't considered a bad omen or whatever. They're still gonna die, I bet. Still, even normal outsiders put the people here on edge. Through this talk, I also got some details about the area itself. They are already dead. Yasumizu was a settlement part of an autonomous region called Fujiyoshi Village, or simply Fujiyoshi. Alright, let me see. Huh. So wait, where exactly did we... That's the river. And I'm assuming that that cliff is the one we fell off of. It feels a bit weird though, because... Huh. It just feels a little bit weird because I felt like we were coming from the opposite direction. I guess that means we must have passed Yasumizu at some point? It's a little hard to parse this. It's also been on the map I'd been shown on the at the store. Fujiyoshi was split into 2 areas, Yasumizu and Kamifujiyoshi. They were separated by a mountain. Going to Kamifujiyoshi took about an hour by foot, or 20 minutes by car on the winding but paved road. Side note, the school the students went to was in Kamifujiyoshi. These 2 settlements had ties so strong they shared customs and culture. Chiemi said the local seasonal events were quite unconventional. I asked her to elaborate, but all she would say was that Yasumizu had special meaning to Fujiyoshi. She was making me more suspicious than I wanted to be. This conversation wasn't nearly as exciting as the one we had last night. Well, at least I found out she didn't have a boyfriend right now.
very intriguing. It was nearly noon when Takumi-san came back, ending my waiting game. Side note, the door was fully open the entire time we waited. It was probably Chami's way of saying that nothing bad was happening here.
Man, bike's sure heavy, eh? Ain't as heavy as a bull I caught last year.
You keep reading Kami Fujiyoshi as Kami Fujo Yoshi. Could be worse. Could be reading it Kami Fujoshi. I really didn't expect them to just carry it here. Like, sure, there were two of them, but just how much mass did you have to haul a 200 kg piece of metal so easily? One moment. Oops. Okay. The unpaved road and river made my sweet ride really damn muddy. How did you bring it up the cliff? There's a pulley. We bring stuff up from the bottom every now and then.
Takumi.
Yeah, now's not the time for that. Hey, you think this thing's alright? It looks pretty damn wet. I'm not sure. I'll check. I'll leave the rest to you then, old man. This took longer than I thought it would. It'd fine if I do some of the sharpening tomorrow. I saw them off with a loud thank you. Now then. Need help? I'll see what I can do by myself first. The worst part of the repairs was right at the beginning. I wanted to start by washing it, but that old lady, Tai Yamawaki was her full name, got really mad at me. She didn't want any Saranaga mud on the ground here because it was corrupt or something. But this plaza was the only place with easy access to water supply tap, so I did my best and convinced her to let me wash it as close to the edge as possible. Once it was clean, I could start checking what was wrong with it. It actually looked pretty good. Bent in some places, sure, but the wash got rid of the bad sound the wheels made. The only problem was that both tires were flat. And it was a pretty big one. You didn't bring tools? No. Aren't you supposed to whenever you go on a bike trip? I just thought I could call road service and they'd do all the work. So unprepared. I have no excuse. Honestly, I was having a moment when I went out. Didn't think things through. Oh? Can I ask what happened? My girlfriend left me. That seems like a lie. It wasn't. In any case, somewhere to get tools to fix a flat tire. There might be some in the Nosara Mansion. Nosara Mansion? Yep, it's the biggest place in Yasumizu. If you can't find something there, you won't find it anywhere else in the village. I see. Then let's give it a shot. I don't really recommend meeting the guy, but I can't think of any other ideas. Someone important again. Yep, and he's kind of messed up to boot. Well, that seems like a good spot to go ahead and end things.
Since I'm doing this on my own, I'll probably have to keep it to 2 hours. Or maybe at the least prepare a lot of tea for myself ahead of time. But I think we made good progress. I'll also go ahead and look to see if those constraints on how far you can stream this are still up. I know a friend of mine did a let's play of this, so I'll poke him about it, see if there's any updated information or go look for it. And maybe I can just send an email to them like I did with Fata Morgana and see if they'll make an exception. But hey, this is a good start. I'm excited to see where it goes. As for the rest of the week, tomorrow here on YouTube, Kudo and I will be getting back to Tales of Fantasia. That will be at 8 p.m. EST. Then Wednesday, over on the Twitch, at 8 p.m. EST, it is going to be Final Fantasy 14. On Thursday is the watch along for Star Trek. If you do not know, we have a Discord. You can find it down in the description. And every Thursday we watch an episode of Star Trek, the original series. Friday over on Twitch at 6 p.m. EST, Leaf and I will be getting back to Final Fantasy V. On Twitch, Saturday, 9 p.m. EST, it is the Animorphs reading, but that's up in the air for this week. That'll be at 9 p.m. if it does happen. And then Sunday on Twitch, again, 8 p.m. EST, it will be Final Fantasy 14. So we've got a nice packed week. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things after my vacation. But thank you all so very much for coming on by. Hope you have a wonderful time zone wherever you are. And as always, please do take care of yourselves and each other.